Rise of the Tomb Raider is so good. Like, man, I cannot even tell you how pleased I am with this one. Like, I liked the first one. I really did. I was like anxious to play the sequel right away. It was actually out by the time I got around to playing the first one. But like I heard that like Rise was not as good as the first, that nowhere near as good. I I I heard that it was a step down, and I kind of agree, but it's a step down in the sort of way that, you know, I don't know, like a pointless sequel is a letdown, like it's more of the same. But when it comes to Tomb Raider, the first one, the reboot, like I felt like I wanted more of that. So Rise for me uh, meshes perfectly with what I expected. Like it's like the same exact thing. Like you have a ton of the same animations. Like it's the environments look kind of similar. It's kind of disappointing in that respect. It doesn't feel fresh and new anymore, but like that doesn't make it bad. Like I am enjoying my time with Rise of the Tomb Raider so far. Rise of the Tomb Raider to me is exactly it's so interesting to me, right? This is something I brought up before, not on stream, but like in other videos. When I talked about the similarities between Uncharted and the new Tomb Raider reboot, they are fundamentally very very similar from like a gameplay design standpoint, from like a cinematic, from like a storytelling standpoint. It's like the same kind of storytelling, Indiana Jones style adventure, but I have completely opposite opinions on both. Like I love the Tomb Raider reboot, but I despise the Uncharted games. And it's kind of interesting with this release in particular. Like Rise of the Tomb Raider, the second one, is very, very similar to Uncharted 2. Like you're going through this like this wintry area. I can't remember if Uncharted 2 actually takes place in Siberia or not. I don't believe it does. I felt that like Uncharted did so much to really, really. Uncharted was just a massive disappointment. Like I played Uncharted 2 last. Like I was specifically told that like that was the best one, and that like I should save it for, well, not save it for last. I actually ended up getting Uncharted 3 with my PS3, so I like went back and played 2 later. So when I got around to playing Uncharted 2, finally, it was this massive, massive, massive disappointment. Like I can't even begin to tell you. I just how I dislike the set pieces, I dislike the combat, I dislike the characters, the story, just everything about it was just incredibly underwhelming to me. Like nothing about it really stood up to me even then as being like game of the generation worthy. Like this is one of the games that was like most critically acclaimed of that year. It won awards. It was like this big deal when it first came out, and yet wasn't that great. It wasn't that great compared to Tomb Raider, which in comparison has been relatively shit on, like since the second game because it was Xbox exclusive. Like Tomb Raider is actually good. Tomb Raider is actually fun. It takes its idea of like surviving in the wilderness and makes like a really good, interesting game out of it. Like fighting these guys, looking for treasure. Like you actually feel interested in learning more about the setting and what's going on, and like acquiring the skills you need to like translate things and survive. And you have like this cool upgrade system. There's all this stuff you can do. Like there's more gameplay variety. Like so far in Rise, I've been mostly sneaking around and like killing people, and I'm surprised at how much I'm enjoying the stealth in this. Like I'm doing stuff like climbing up trees, jumping around, jumping at people from above. Like there's just so much depth. There's just so many things you can do there. Like the environments are more fun to explore. They're more open. There's more things you can use. There's like collectibles, resources. like there is just so much here that makes Tomb Raider stand out far above Uncharted to me. Like to me, they aren't even really comparable, and yet there's this weird narrative among like the gaming press that like Uncharted is one of the best gaming experiences ever made, right? And Tomb Raider is like a disappointment. Like I don't see it. I just don't see it. Like there's just nothing that Uncharted does that Tomb Raider doesn't do 1,000 times better. Like absolutely nothing, absolutely nothing. I, I find myself like more fond of Lara as a character. I find like her abilities more. I find her like more fun to play as. I find the situation she's in more interesting. Like the set pieces are better. The environments are more interesting to look at. They have more things going on. The puzzles are infinitely better. Like the game has such a nice balance of like exploration and like it feels like everything I would have wanted out of a proper Indiana Jones style adventure, like while still retaining its own unique personality. Like it does not feel like a straight up ripoff the way that like Uncharted does. You know what I mean? You know what I mean by that? Like it just feels like to me like Uncharted is just this massively overhyped thing that doesn't deserve any of the praise or recognition it got. Well, Tomb Raider is being shit all over for no reason. Like, I don't even know exactly why Shadow of the Tomb Raider was so unpopular from the moment it was announced. Like, was it because it was rushed? Was it because nobody played Rise? Like, is there any reason for that? Like, why were more people not talking about this? Like, I just don't get it. And I find that Uncharted like not even comparable. Like I just find Tomb Raider to be so much better in every single capacity. I just have no idea. And like when it comes to Uncharted, really, I've mentioned this before, but it feels like these games come out, they're big deals. Everybody's talking about them as the next big thing, the biggest thing ever, and yet, a couple of years later, they're completely forgotten. It really did feel that way. Like even back in the Uncharted 2 days, like it came out, and within a couple of years, nobody really cared about it anymore. Like I get the impression that the people who stand by Uncharted 2, who swear by it as being like this all-time game of the generation defining game, have not gone back and played it since it first came out an entire decade ago. And to me, that to me is kind of pathetic, really, really sad. I just don't I just I don't know. I've come back to so many games over the years, so many better games over the years. I have no intention of ever returning to Uncharted unless it's specifically to like talk about how it doesn't work as a franchise and why it's not worth talking about or playing or just Tomb Raider is so much better. In comparison, like I said, back when I first played the first Tomb Raider, the reboot. I don't know what should I call it, like the Tomb Raider reboot, right? Like I remember when I first talked about that, when I first started talking about that, like it felt like that release by itself was better than all three Uncharted games because it had depth, it had complexities, it had like more things going on in like the general gameplay. It had more enemy variety. It had like better environments, better puzzles, like side quests, collectibles, replay value. Like even on that same playthrough, you can go back and like find things you maybe missed or want to do again. Like there is a lot to do in that game. Like I think I put like 30 hours to it, maybe not that long, but like significantly more than I put into any of the Uncharted games. I just do not do not find the Uncharted games like likable at all. And whenever I look up what people praise about the Uncharted games, like it all falls flat on its face. Like you get stuff like, there aren't any load times. Like you load up the game and like the game is so structured and so linear and so straightforward. Like the game does not need to load after the initial loading screen, and that's not something to really praise. Like that's not like that doesn't make the game great. I just I find Uncharted just massive disappointment. Like this is something that I was expecting to really like and enjoy. Like I even gave like the first game a massive pass because I heard a lot of people like preferred the second. Like all three games were out by the time I played the first, and like when I got around to playing it, I was just like baffled. Well, not baffled, but like I liked the first one for what it was. Like a mediocre action game. Like I was under the impression that it did not become legitimately a great IP until the second one. Like I bought into that, and then when I played the second one, like I ended up hating it. Like it did not live up to the hype. I just don't. I do not. I do not find Uncharted to be good. There's nothing about it that's interesting. There's nothing about it that's unique. Like nothing about it that stands out. Nothing about it that stands the test of time. Like I have not played the original Tomb Raiders yet. I kind of want to now that I'm such a fan of the reboot. I guarantee, I am certain that the original Tomb Raider games are better than this. I'm certain they give. I am certain that the original Tomb Raider has stood the test of time better than like Uncharted has. Like I just guarantee it. Like I just feel that like I don't know. There has to be something there, right? Definitely want to look into that here and see just what happens going forward. So yeah, Rise of the Tomb Raider so far in my experience is very positive. Like I'm not sure how I feel about like uh I don't know, the Aloy looking girl who like another girl with a bow. Like enough with the girls with the bows, okay? That is like getting that's just like okay, like okay, one is enough, okay? I just yeah. So I'm optimistic. I'm interested in seeing just what happens next when it comes to this game. Like I at this point, I'm curious as to how good Shadow of the Tomb Raider is because I heard nothing but bad things about that one. But I don't know, man. I don't know, man. Like, can it really be that bad? Like, I don't think. I think it must not be. Like, I don't know. Like, I like the first two so much. I am already planning on playing it eventually. Like, I don't really see why. No one's ever been able to give me a straight answer as to why it's so disappointing. Just like nobody was able to explain to me why the second one was so disappointing. Like the second one was like an Xbox exclusive. So like I get the impression that like not a lot of people played it and like they tried making some kind of justification for it. I just find it I don't know. I find it to be ridiculous. I do. Tomb Raider. Yeah. So I do think the first one is better than the second. Like I do agree with that. The issue is that like I like the second in spite of that. Like the thing I'm noticing right off the bat is like the second is unfortunately way less brutal than the first. Like the first might be one of the most like overtly brutal games I've ever fucking played in my life. Like it's so ridiculous with the kind of stuff they came out with. Like the stuff with like the rocks and how it like goes through your head and like out your skull. Like that was like so brutal. Like that opening segment where like you're captured and you have to like escape and get to like that was like really cool and really unique and just it, does a lot to really set the mood of what they were trying to do here. And that to me is was way better handled than what Rise is. I think that's the problem is that they tried to tell this origin story of like Lara Croft over like 3 games instead of just the one. Because like I playing Rise, I don't get why she's like why she has to rise as the Tomb Raider. Like to me, she's already fucking there after the first one. Like she's already like doing this stuff. She's not surviving anymore. She's like going out like actually researching stuff. Like does she just become famous by the end of the third one? Is that it? Is that her rise? Like I don't know. I don't know. Like what's her shadow? Is her past catching up to her by the third? Like I don't know at this point. And again, one of the weak points of these games is that the writing isn't that great. I didn't like the writing in the first one. I thought it was like kind of underwhelming. I thought it was like kind of boring. I thought it was kind of hackneyed. Um, I don't know. I kind of liked how you had lots of different characters. I found it weird how I don't know. Like they had so many characters, and then like a lot. They had like interesting ideas behind them, and then they didn't really like utilize them very well. Like Rise seems even worse in that regard. Like the characters seem even more generic and even more uninspired, and that's kind of a disappointment. Again, the first one I think is better, but I don't know. That's just my opinion. Maybe the final boss of Rise won't be as absolute garbage as the first one. Yeah. The first one was like stellar all the way through, and then the Western developers just had to remind us that they the West is like completely incapable of making a final boss. Like it's just something that like no one seems to be able to do. I don't really understand why. I don't know. Like, are they not studying like Japanese developers? Do they not care? Do they not like want to? I don't know. Like it just so disappointing. I was just so disappointed. Now the one good thing, and the one thing that like I don't know, where you have like the dual pistols at the end, that was kind of cool. Like I don't know, like they sort of had nice ideas for that. I don't understand why they don't have the dual pistols now, or even in the third one. Like that was a major controversy. I don't understand why they didn't do that. Like, are they gonna have to make a fourth one where they explain the origins of like the dual pistols? Like, um, come on, man. So yeah, Rise. I'm very pleased with. I like it. I enjoy it. I think it's a stellar release. Um, especially compared to like all the other shit I've been playing on the Xbox One. Like, I don't know. Like, I really like these games. Like, I wish Sleeping Dogs got a sequel. Uh, I wish like New Evil Within came out on Switch. I wish that like uh, I don't know. Like there is a lot of stuff. I do want to play the third one. Like I want to finish the second one. I want to play the third, and then like we'll round out the trilogy and talk about like what Shadow does because I think that's all I really needed to say here. Like I feel is that like man, Uncharted is so disappointing. Rise of the Tomb Raider is so much better in every single way. I don't understand how anyone could disagree otherwise. Um I don't know. Like the only thing I could think of is it's like if anyone has not played both, and that's the impression I get a lot when it comes to Uncharted fans. Like much like Devil May Cry fans, or much like I don't know, PlayStation fans in general, they seem to have no idea as to what's actually out there. You know, it's kind of weird like that, but yeah, I do think Rise, I do think Tomb Raider overall is already better than Uncharted. Like Shadow of the Tomb Raider can be like complete crap, and I would still say that. Like the first 2 games are just too good. Like they're just too good, too good. Hmm. Yeah, I think that's all I had to say. If nothing else comes up, I think I'll sign off here and get back to doing my thing. Yep, I think that's it. Um, right, nothing else. I just wanted to give my general opinions on Rise of the Tomb Raider really quickly here on stream. Really, really happy. Really, really pleased by this one. I hope it continues to impress. I hope Shadow of the Tomb Raider is better than what people say it is. I'm really anxious to play it. We'll have to see just when I get around to that. We probably will wait until it's like $20. Considering how badly that game bombed, it probably won't be too long. But yeah, I'll finish Rise. Get back to that, and I'll get back to you later. Like when I finish Rise, I'll give a thorough review of it and talk about it again, and that is going to be a lot of fun. I'll see you guys next time.